I just want to start this episode off by saying I have had my fill of anime titties this week.
Have you been staying at Colin's house?
No, and that's why I'm disturbed.
The funny thing is that we went to Jetpack yesterday. Please sponsor us. And I was looking at the manga, and there was one with a cover that had huge anime titties. I'm like, Spencer, look at anime titties. He's like, no, I do not want.
I literally just ran the other way.
I do not want.
Do not want.
I do not wish to be horny. Foul demon.
He just doesn't wish to be anime horny. There is a difference.
He doesn't like hentai.
It's
He knows his
subgenre. Why buy a comic that would cost more than a dime? Come meet the brothers who are here to waste your time.
Welcome back to the Dime Comic Bros podcast, episode 10. We don't have to go straight into the news because we have housekeeping.
Oh my gosh.
Housekeeping!
We have to do that every time.
Yes, no, absolutely. So, a couple of notes. Now that we are officially on episode 10, we're doing a little bit of a soft relaunch / soft reboot, if you will. So, we are doing a little bit of a rebranding. By the time this episode is up, we will have some new channel art and a new logo, as well as some assorted other things. So now we officially have a website at dimecomicbros.podbean.com, as well as a Patreon if you would like to support this podcast in some capacity or just come give it a visit. We have quite a few different tiers with different types of content available to you, including getting your name read off every episode, voting on topics, free stickers, commissioned art by Colin.
That's me.
As well as a few other handy-dandy little things. So if you just want to shoot over to patreon.com/dimecomicbros, if you want to throw us some money, that would be cool. If not, we get it because we are broke.
I'm just going to be honest here and say my favorite tier is the $1 one because you get a freaking sticker for $1. And
Bit of a steal.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a steal.
I love my stickers. The stickers.
I also like my stickers. I think that's why we all agreed to just have stickers right off the bat.
Yeah.
Of course.
So that is the end of housekeeping. So we're just going to have some slightly different branding moving forward. Format staying the same. We're still weekly. We're not adding some fourth dumbass on this podcast.
No.
Definitely not.
3 dumbasses.
3 dumbasses
are
well enough.
I mean, 2's kind of pushing it, but 3 is the limit.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to just jump into the news.
Also, you guys might have noticed my input on this rebranding. We have a brandy new theme song.
That is very correct. Jacob put that thing together entirely on his own.
Thank you. I'm here all week.
So, news. This has actually been a actually slow week.
You can't be so deflated, man. Today, breaking news.
Oh my gosh, no.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes, we got it. We have to. We're doing this.
Oh my gosh.
I loved this. This was great.
You guys sounded like the warring micro dick. It's like, no, I am bigger.
I'm gonna read this one because I'm the only PlayStation gamer in the room, as far as I know.
Yep.
You both are, you're both ex-boners.
You're gonna say you're both butt naked. I'm like,
whoa,
wow,
man,
no.
I wish.
From comicbook.com, during the new PS5, which is PlayStation 5 for any of you noobs out there, showcase event, Sony and Insomniac Games showed off our second look at Marvel's SpiderMan, I'm assuming.
Yeah, that's a typo, my bad.
Marvel's SpiderMan Miles Morales, which included our first ever look at the PS5 game's gameplay, as well as its 4K visuals and 60 frames per second if you are watching on a 4K 60 frame per second screen. Otherwise, you didn't give a shit. Unfortunately, there's still no word of a release date beyond holiday 2020. Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales is set 1 year after the events of 2018's Marvel's Spider-Man, making it in 2019, in a wintry Harlem, the neighborhood of protagonist Miles Morales. I think we should say his name a couple more times just to make sure we know who the Spider-Man is.
Remember everyone.
Don't you mean Marvel's Spider-Man, Miles Morales?
Yes. Wintry Harlem, neighborhood of protagonist Miles Morales, which is on the verge of being torn apart by a vicious war between an energy corporation and a criminal organization.
What's the difference?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, why
do I feel like that's gonna be a major theme?
That's what the DLCs were, and also most of the main story?
Yeah.
Of the original.
Great game.
So, yeah, it's the only one I've platinumed.
Really?
The only one ever, dude.
Wow.
Wow. While Marvel's Spider-Man, typo again.
I think the article had that typo now that I think about it.
Wow. While Marvel's Spider-Man, Miles Morales is set a year after the first game, again 2019, it's not technically a sequel. A sequel starring Peter Parker, not Parker, will come eventually, but for now, Insomniac Games is focused on telling the coming-of-age story of Miles Morales. I am not adding these names in. This is how the article reads.
Yeah, it's honestly a bit of a rough read.
Seriously, there are pronouns in existence. Someone please edit this. That said, this isn't DLC or even an expansion. It's a standalone experience. In other words, think of it as a spin-off. In fact, Insomniac Games itself has likened it to 2017's Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, which was pretty much a DLC. A really, really big DLC as far as I understand it.
It's still pretty good, though.
But not as big as Witcher 3 DLC.
Honestly, that best DLC I've ever played in terms of quality and price. Like $15 for each expansion.
I've never made it to the DLC.
Bro.
I'm just buried in the freaking world.
Bro, get through that. Go through the Witcher 3 DLC. It's great. So I am honestly really excited for this. I'm really glad that Miles Morales is finally getting some mainstream attention these days. It's a freaking phenomenal character. And they have a very different take on him from this universe, which I'm quite digging.
Cool.
Yeah. Colin, do you like Spider-Man?
I like Spider-Man.
Okay.
Wow.
Next.
I don't know. I'm just kind of concerned that it is like Lost Legacy, which is like,
judging by the
you
gameplay
should've,
that's been
like-
released and like the other summaries, it does look like it's just another game. It's just not necessarily as big as the first one.
So I don't know.
We'll see.
It seems like they were trying to cobble it together in a short amount of time to get it on the PS5, and they didn't have time.
It
to
is going to
make
be a cross-gen game, which is true. Yeah.
So,
who
I
knows?
don't know.
Who knows what's going on behind the scenes over
I
there?
haven't even gotten Lost Legacy because it just seemed like it should have been a more expensive DLC because that's what it should have been.
Potentially.
And it's just the principle of it, man.
Yeah. So, next piece of news. Marvel's WandaVision got its first trailer released.
Yes.
We watched that before you got here.
About 5 minutes
Nice.
before you got here, we do our homework.
Nice.
Sir,
Here
yes,
on
sir.
this very professional podcast.
I'm digging it like a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Big dig.
Oh, I love it. I have one nitpick.
Oh.
It's such a dumb nitpick, and I already
Please
told
tell
this
me.
to Jacob.
Wait,
Yep.
is it the aspect ratio?
Negative.
I don't even understand that. I don't know how aspect
He's not
ratio.
nerdy
I
like
thought-
you are.
I'm not that nerdy.
I thought it was
will.
going to be an
Don't-
aspect ratio joke.
Okay,
No,
okay,
your
no.
mind's gonna be blown.
Listen. So I have a huge nitpick, biggest nitpick in the world. In black and white, I don't like how Vision looks because I don't think like the maroon, burgundy, or whatever color is dark enough. Because okay, so you know in the black and white Superman show or like movie, I can't remember
Yeah.
which one it is. Anyway, they made the red on his quote unquote red on his suit brown. The
Yeah.
costume is brown, so
Right.
that it would show up like looks like dark, like it would be red in black and white. I think they should have made his color in that scene at least like a brown to make it darker
I kind of
color.
agree with you now that I think about it. I only
It is
watched
weird.
it like twice.
He looks flushed out because it looks like all you see are lines and not really
right.
any
It doesn't look
colored
That's true.
definition.
Fair point. I was gonna say maybe you thought it looked too dark, and then it looked like Paul Bettany was wearing blackface. But once I actually think about reality, that's entirely the opposite. He looks too freaking pasty.
Yeah.
Fair point.
I don't know. I really liked. I wasn't surprised by almost anything. The witch at the end. I don't know who that is yet. I haven't done my homework
Yeah,
all the
me
way.
neither.
Okay. All right. But it looks like it was shot on a high def camera with a black and white filter thrown over it. Like it's
absolutely.
got extreme
of
frames
course.
and everything. So it's like you're kind of defeating the
Pretty
purpose
sure they're playing up the fact
of
that
the
it
old
was
school look.
Yeah, which was something I thought would be interesting is if they played with the aspect ratio in the actual show rather than just the little bit that was in the trailer. Like if depending on the time period, you'd have like the oldest one would be in 4:3, but also has like the rounded edges on it, and it was like more patchy and faded, like actual recordings. which I have no clue if they're actually going to be doing or not. But that just something I thought would be kind of neat. Something that is quite interesting that I'm definitely looking forward to is the fact that this is now our first thing in Phase 4.
Yeah.
It was originally going to be Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but they haven't been able to finish filming because of all the assorted pandemic stuff, as well as I believe an earthquake.
I thought you were going to say all the assorted crises.
It's very true.
That is
crises.
The 2020.
Yeah, no.
Effect.
So that is going to end up, that's been getting delayed and pushed. This is just, they were able to do so much of it on a soundstage and such that this is going to be our first look at Phase 4. It's the only thing coming out in 2020 for the MCU, which is a topic of later discussion in the news.
Oof.
Any more thoughts on this?
When allegedly?
Holiday 2020. According to some listings of like the coming soon stuff, judging on where there are like patches in the schedule, like post Mandalorian and such, it's probably gonna be December, somewhere between like Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Ooh, so that means we have a whole month to dig through Mandalorian, and then we get to December and watch WandaVision.
Yep.
Yes.
I'm so excited.
Excitement.
So we have next piece of news is from Variety.com. Quote, HBO Max has given a straight-to-series order for the character Peacemaker, a spin-off from the upcoming Suicide Squad. It's incorrect. It's the Suicide Squad
Thank you. I was going to make that correction.
I'm kind of annoyed that Variety made a big typo like that. John Cena will play the title role, reprising his role from the film. The film's writer and director James Gunn will also write the series and direct multiple episodes, including the pilot. HBO Max has ordered 8 episodes of the show based on the DC Comics character, which is described as an action-adventure comedy. The exact plot of the series is being kept under wraps, but it is said it will explore the origins of Peacemaker, a man who believes in peace at any cost, no matter how many people he has to kill to get it. Production is slated to begin in early 2021. This just happened. It's really funny. James Gunn just came out on Twitter and was like, no, HBO Max just contacted me. They're like, dude, you want to do a spin-off of this movie before it's even finished or come out? He's like, yeah, I got some ideas. And they're like, write a script. And he's like, okay. So they're just doing it. Like, he just did they've sorted all this stuff out basically from James Gunn's couch.
So, something that's got me going, this is the same news about the Batman's TV show.
Kind of.
It's also on HBO Max, right?
Yeah, and it's getting announced before they actually they see the success or potential failure of what's actually going on.
The movie, right?
So they're really banking on their creators these days. They're going, now we actually trust you to do something good.
And also their service.
That's good.
I'm glad.
It's just it kind of came out of left field, which is just funny. It's like, no, I'm going to do it on John Cena.
And his name is John Cena!
There we go. And apparently the timeline is unknown if it's before or after the movie, meaning it sounds like Origins, so probably before. But, maybe it's after, and we now know he's not going to die. Who knows? So we also got a trailer for Marvel's Hellstrom, which I thought looked pretty interesting and also very dark. Like, by comparison, not just physically, but, like, tonally. Like, it looks to actually be very spook. I'm interested. Do you guys have any thoughts on Marvel's Hellstrom getting a trailer?
Yeah, Colin and I should have done our homework.
Huh. Interesting. Something I will note is the Marvel Studios / Marvel logo was not anywhere to be seen.
Whoa.
Which you wouldn't expect Marvel Studios to be on it because they didn't do anything with it, but it Marvel Television did it, so you'd expect the Marvel logo to be on it somewhere. But it looks like maybe because this was produced before Marvel Television and TV merged just into Marvel Studios. Mm-hmm. So maybe, Kevin Feige / the rest of the people over at Marvel Studios are just trying to dissociate it, whether literally they're just going to boot it out of continuity or they just don't want to market it as an MCU thing, because this is actually the first thing from Phase 4. Technically, because it's coming out in October. But it's also
our listeners didn't see Spencer push his glasses up his nose as he was saying, well, actually.
This is true.
So the next 3 bits of news came all at once in a little article that got published. Marvel's Black Widow is delayed to May 2021. Marvel's Shang-Chi is delayed to July 2021. And Marvel's Eternal is delayed to November 2021. The rest of the films and TV shows for the rest of Marvel's Phase 4 did not get official release dates announced, other than the Falcon.
Than delayed.
Yeah, other than Falcon and Winter Soldier and such, and Loki getting delayed into 2021, I don't remember if we have specific release dates for those yet. But we're only going to get 3 movies next year, and honestly, I'm down. I'm really glad that we're getting this entire gap year away from going to the cinema to watch Marvel movies. I'm really happy about this.
I was gonna say, you said only getting 3 Marvel movies next year, and I'm like, that's 3 more than we got this year.
It's true, but we already had a big gap over this year and then bits of last year after Spider-Man: Homecoming came out.
Mm-hmm.
Not Homecoming, bleh, Far From Home. After that came out, we already had that big gap, and there was supposed to be like 8 months before Black Widow came out, and then since all of this has started happening, it's gonna be like a year and a half with nothing. And I'm really down. That hasn't happened since 2009.
Yeah.
And this is pretty cool. Because it's a good breather.
Wow.
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 Yeah. So,
Wow.
Jacob,
Yes.
only one piece of Snyder Cut
I
news.
know, and it's at the very end. I'm so proud of you.
It's actually not the end because there's more stuff.
You
But,
son of a bitch.
sorry, news comes out after I send out the agenda. Zack Snyder's Justice League is getting its additional photography coming in October, which apparently includes Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill, Gal Gadot, and Ray Fisher. So this is the quote-unquote additional scenes he wanted to add that is getting added in because it's becoming a series, so they can extend the runtime a little bit. And the couple of things that didn't get finished from the initial reshoots, like the stuff with Martian Manhunter, one would assume.
Green Lantern?
Green Lantern is already... I'm putting on my tinfoil hat because I know things that I shouldn't know / have connected dots that might not actually be connected. All that stuff's already done. So the couple of things that need to get polished up for it to be done filming is coming in October. And they officially announced how much the actual finished product is going to cost them, and it's $70 million. It was originally projected.
Oh, is that all?
It was originally projected to be between 30 to, I believe, 40 when the initial announcement came out. They're like, probably 30-ish just to polish it off. And now that they're nearly done, they just decided to release the number that HBO Max is pumping into this. And this reeks to me of they're not done with Zack Snyder yet.
Right.
I think that they're waiting until it becomes popular, and then, the app bloody explodes. And they're going to announce he's back in some capacity, potentially to finish his original plan, but on HBO Max.
I'm down.
That's my tinfoil hat theory, but one would assume they'd go, okay, you can have the $30 million to finish what you've already shot, to do all the CGI that needed to get finished, but not to shoot an additional 5 to 10 minutes of footage that he apparently wants to add.
Right.
Then they're adding in all of that stuff, which all has to be pumped through post-production over the next 6 months to a year whenever it comes out. That's just, it smells like they're not here for a one-time investment. They want more seasons of Zack Snyder's Justice League.
And so do you.
And I'm down. Very down.
Next.
So we have an article from Variety.com. Quote, "The Boys could be getting a spin-off. Variety has learned that Amazon is..."
Wait. Is it going to be the girls?
No, it's going to be the teens. Let me finish. Variety has learned that Amazon is fast-tracking development on a new iteration of the popular comic book series adaptation. The spin-off is set at America's only college exclusively for young adult superheroes, or SUPs as they are known, that is run by Vought International. It is described as an irreverent R-rated series that explores the lives of hormonal competitive SUPs as they put their physical, sexual, and moral boundaries to the test, competing for the best contracts in the best cities. Part college show, part Hunger Games, with all the heart, satire, and raunch of The Boys, end quote. How can you make The Boys even more hormonal and horny? Genuinely asking.
And raunchy.
Yeah, how can you crank that up to a more quote-unquote teenage level? Kind of scary.
Yeah.
But also, so down for this.
No.
More.
I'm not interested.
Give me more.
No.
More. More boys.
It's like a CEO at Amazon Prime Video saw all the headlines about Netflix's cuties and said, "Oh, we can get away with that."
Oh, dude. Oh, boy. Okay. So we have another article. This is our last piece of news from Deadline.com. This happened right before I showed up here. Quote, Disney Plus is developing a new Marvel series with Samuel L. Jackson attached to reprise his role of Nick Fury, sources confirmed to Deadline. The project is in its early stages and details are being kept under wraps, but we're told Kyle Bradstreet from Mr. Robot will write and executive produce, and Marvel Studios will produce. End quote.
This one I'm interested in.
Same. It doesn't say that it's a Nick Fury series.
Right.
They said it includes him.
Mm-hmm.
Fun fact, it's also going to be Samuel L. Jackson's first time committing to a television role that's like continuous, which is interesting. He's done cameos and he's done brief roles, and he's cameoed on like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and such, but this would be his first like television role.
Mm-hmm. Is it really television though? If
fair
it's
enough.
Streaming service show.
When it gets on
modern television.
When it gets put onto the physical disc or on a digital copy, when you buy it, it all plays out the same. So who really cares? But this is interesting. I'm thinking this might be a Sword spinoff because judging by the end of Far From Home and where Nick Fury is, and then where like the end of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. ended, we're in space now. Lots of space things. So if they're going to give him a spinoff in the future, one would hope they're not doing more prequel stuff.
And this is where I say you're wrong.
Why, though?
Because it's in space, right?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Who else is in space? It's Silver Surfer, baby! He's back!
That'd be so out of left field, and I'd also be stupidly down for that. Why on earth would that be intermingled with Nick Fury, though? Confusion.
Because why not?
True. Yeah, that's the end of the news.
Yeah.
That kind of broke headlines today. That was a little odd. So that is the end of the news. We're going to segue into our main topic now. We're going to be talking about Spider-Man Life Story, which is a 6-issue miniseries written by Chip Zdarsky and illustrated by Mark Bagley, published in 2019.
Oh, really? I didn't know it was 2019.
Yes, it's very new.
I would also like to call out that it was Spencer's copy that we shared for a couple of weeks.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you, Spencer.
You're welcome, son.
So, we definitely pinched our pennies on this one.
Definitely. So who wants to start off with some thoughts? Obviously, main topics are always a spoiler discussion. So
Of course. Well, I was surprised that I enjoyed the art style because I'm super picky about art style.
It's Mark Bagley though. Like he is he's the Spider-Man homie.
But remember, I'm super picky with art styles.
You are very anal
Where's
about
the
things.
book? Because I have a frame that I
okay.
want to call out.
There was a couple of stuff that was rough, but like that's what happens.
I bought the book right after I finished reading Spencer's because it's good.
Dang. So maybe we didn't pinch our pennies on this one. Thanks for blowing a hole in that.
Okay. Let's be honest here. I waste my money, so I'm always broke because of comics.
What are you doing on this show?
Yeah, it's Mark Bagley. He's been doing most of the best Spider-Man runs for the past like 25 years.
That frame bugs me so bad.
Why?
Because freaking Peter Parker is hunched like
I mean,
shoulders way up, neck way forward. He looks like a total pedo right there.
He's kind of just a nerd.
A little bit. But like, that's one panel out of...
Wait a minute.
Like,
also,
500 panels?
J. Jonah Jameson is fugly.
He's always supposed to be
His face looks like
he's supposed to be
rearranged
fugly.
with a baseball bat.
So I think we should talk about this, like going through the decades.
Yeah, that's probably a good place to start. This book takes place over the entirety of Spider-Man history, but as if it happened in real time.
Which I love.
It's so cool.
The first issue starts us off in the 1960s.
Yes, sir.
And then the last one happens in the late 2010s. Or is it, technically late 2010s.
Sure.
Yeah, so something on that note of, I thought this was a phenomenal love letter for anybody who's read Spider-Man for more than a little amount of time, but this is definitely not a way to introduce people to Spider-Man.
Definitely not.
You have to have at least somewhat of an understanding of Spider-Man history for the total sequence of events to make sense, like, why they're important.
It just highlights all of, like, the most important things to happen to Spider-Man and the fan favorites, obviously.
Yeah, so we have Venom, Kraven... the Clone Saga, Gwen Stacy, Green Goblin, blah, 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 blah. Like, all that stuff. And we got Miles Morales at the end.
Yeah.
Great.
But it was in space, and I didn't know if that was referring to anything.
Let's wait for that.
Let's leave the hopeful note for the end.
Yes, sir.
So something that I really wanted to, probably my favorite part of the book was the fact that it uses the Superhero Registration Act as the backdrop of the entire book. So I really like the fact that it just starts off, uses the Vietnam War as a very big backdrop. I'd say part of the spine of this book. That was a really bad pun. But also using the Superhero Registration Act for like 4 of the 6 decades of this book is really, really nice. I thought that was really well done.
So Captain America goes rogue over in Vietnam.
I loved that
during the
so
60s,
much.
Yep,
and I thought it was a really decent nod towards Civil War. But
the end of the
no, Civil War's later in this book.
Yeah, no.
Right, I know. But it's like, it's the same reasoning that the characters would do.
Right.
But different timeline.
I love how much, like, Captain America is so... I don't want to say modern Captain America, because Captain America's been kind of anti-establishment for the past, like, 40 years. But it's so... No, this is the guy who's standing for the ideas that America could stand on, not the
what
horrible...
America is.
Right. It's for the ideas, not for what we've kind of turned it into. And I really like that.
Yes.
So my point with this was that it's his rogueness, I guess, is referenced in... right there, the 3rd page of issue 2, and it's never talked about again. Like, I don't know. It kind of left. It felt like it was undone a little bit. There was no.
I mean, he does go
conclusion.
Missing for the reader for like another like decade and a half until he comes in, like
he
where the
shows up.
quote unquote
2000.
Civil War actually comes in.
Right.
That's true.
So
Maybe that was just me having the knowledge of all the Civil War and Civil War like ancillary comics, where I knew he'd be doing Secret Avengers stuff in the background as soon as I noticed he like disappeared from the book. But that was me making an assumption.
Gotcha.
So with the 1960s, we go through Spider-Man as he's in college, and he is with Gwen Stacy, and it's before they end up in a relationship, and it ends with sending Flash Thompson off to war.
That was great. I love how well they used Flash in this.
Yeah, I like that.
Like,
and
they got
also they
past
showed
the bullying phase already, and they're just into the, like, there's a little bit of mutual respect, but he's a big old Spider-Man fanboy.
Not yet. Not until after he apologizes in the bar.
Right.
Because he practically embarrassed Flash and reminding everyone of how he was a bully instead of realizing what the man he became.
Right. I like how that's like the beginning. It's like as soon as you hop into decade 2, Flash is dead.
Yep.
Like just right off. But
Okay.
it felt like the kick in the pants to like adulthood. Obviously they're already adults in the 60s, but more of the maturity of the Spider-Man comics themselves. Once you got past the late high school into college days, it kind of kicked up in tone a little bit.
And so as we get into the 70s, which is 1977, we see Peter Parker at a gravestone talking about what's happened and giving a brief summary to the person in the grave. And we find out that he is now married to Gwen Stacy. And after at the second page, we find it says Eugene Flash Thompson, January 20, 1947 to April 16th, 1974. So I should have seen that, but like it was kind of a shocker for me because I thought he was just talking to Ben or something. But it was like Flash was like, oh! Right as I was just sitting in work, like just enjoying my lunch. Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, that was awesome. Very good use of expectations.
And we go on to seeing Peter Parker in a lab with Mr. Fantastic, and we see that notorious newsletter that Jacob was just complaining about. And talking about political debates, which I actually enjoy the little...
I liked all the big brain boys, like having so much back and forth in this book between like Reed Richards and Peter Parker and Otto and like everybody, just all of the...
Otto being happy that he's with May now.
Yeah, I like how they in the beginning, again, they just skipped over him being evil for a while, and then they go back to it later. Like, that was cool.
So, way back about a month ago, when I read Gotham White Knight, I was complaining about politics in my comic books. I really like how this book handled politics.
Nice.
It's quite light.
Yeah.
It.
Because
Round of applause.
It just uses it as a backdrop in a way to hold a chronology of time.
Yep. And then they also have, like, someone will state their opinion and someone will state the exact opposite. And then as the first guy is about to retort, they're interrupted. And that's it.
Yep.
It's like, there's two sides to this coin. Move on. And
Yep.
boom. Done.
Nice.
I like it.
And I would like to point out the costume changes in every decade.
Yeah.
And
The suits are so sexy.
Yeah. Like, we get armor plating on shoulders, forearms, kneecaps, shins for Spider-Man. And he also has my favorite web backpack. I just love that.
Yeah.
He just continuously has that just to put his clothes and shoes
I've
and
always
crap
liked that.
like that.
It's cute.
Mm-hmm.
He's got his little bag.
And during this, we also find out that
MJ's
Mary
a
Jane,
bitch.
yeah, MJ is a bitch, of course, but she's married to Harry. Of course, she's married to Harry.
Yeah, that happened in main continuity as well. That shouldn't have necessarily been a surprise.
Really, I didn't know that.
If I remember correctly, I might be wrong, but they were at least in a very serious relationship for a fairly long amount of time.
Oh yeah, I could figure
On
that.
the note of relationships, I really liked how they used both Gwen Stacy and Mary Jane, but in very Spider-Man-esque ways. Like, something with film adaptations I think they're going to always have a problem with is doing more than one serious love interest.
I don't like Mary Jane as his love interest. I never did. I always like Gwen Stacy because Mary Jane always feels like just like a
The backup
hey,
plan because Gwen
yeah.
died.
Yeah, because Gwen
I think
died.
that's the point.
There's no, yeah, that's the point. But it's also, I don't know. I can't like her.
I think the idea, generally speaking, is that like Peter is like, oh crap, there's a backup, like, but it was more of she was always there, and it just wasn't like the center of attention.
And she kisses really well upside down in the rain.
Also true.
Also on
Kinky.
relationship notes in this book, Peter Parker says something to Mr. Fantastic about Mr. Fantastic's wife leaving him for a man under the sea, and I do not...
Namor.
When?
Sometime previous to that event, obviously.
So it's just in this book?
Yeah, it's just backstory of...
It's not...
They're already divorced. He's already salty old man Mr. Fantastic.
Like, that comment is the only thing I knew about this. I was like,
Yeah.
what?
You know, in Fantastic Four lore, from the beginning, she's always had she doesn't necessarily have affection for Namor, but like he's always been like hardcore crushing on her, like real bad, and then it's always come up in many plot lines. Namor's just a horny boy.
I had no idea.
Yeah, no, it's a really I really did enjoy that, and it's such like saltiness, and he just slaps Peter upside the face, like, dude, that sucks. That was a bit of a hard dig.
I just love that this book has so many like twists and turns because it's like, oh, this is so dumb, it's already happened. I'm like, oh wait, that's the point. It's the life story. It's just supposed to be like real time.
Have to say, they made the Clone Saga work.
Yes, they did.
Because nobody would claim that the original Clone Saga worked even remotely close. It lasted like a decade, and it was garbage. Most of it was crap.
And
Does Jacob not like how they used clones in this?
Okay, so I don't know anything about the Clone Saga in real life, but this one felt like they twisted one too many times, and I was confused.
Fair.
At the very end. Because...
Oh, okay, yep.
So here's my note that our listeners aren't going to understand. Ben Parker leaves with Gwen Clone in book 2.
Yep.
But comes back as the real Peter in book 4.
Yep.
Right.
So what happened to Gwen?
Gwen died. Oh.
Yeah,
the Gwen clone that has been his wife for 20 years.
We're going to assume she died.
Yeah, I believe that he name dropped it. That he's been living. The reason that actual Peter gave Ben the clone his life towards the end of his was the fact that like Ben the clone has been kind of living like a shallow life. Like even Gwen's died. Like there's just nothing there for him because he has to live as somebody that he's not. So then he pulls that switcheroo where he pretends to Ben that Ben is actually the real Peter, and then he just gives him his identity.
All right, so somebody was lying, and I didn't pick up on it. I took it all as truth. So
no,
well, when Peter goes to confront Osborn.
Yeah, when the real Peter near the end of the book just gives his identity to Ben Parker, the clone, because he feels bad for him because basically he has the clone has all the same memories. He feels as though he's had the same life experience.
Right.
So Peter feels like he basically stole that from him, even though it was still Peter's life.
Right.
And Peter is not fulfilled because he's not with Mary Jane or his family anymore. So he just is like, here, you can have my life. I need to go live this quiet life with my family now.
But that's my point, is that Ben leaves his established life with
He doesn't
the
really
Gwen
have
Club.
much, because he has to live on the DL. Because he looks like the head of Parker Industries. He has to
He
live
was
on the quiet.
living with the Gwen Club.
Right.
And that's what I'm hung up on.
She
He just leaves the clone as his
I'm
wife.
going to flip through this because
Okay.
I'm pretty sure he said that she just kind of died because they got old.
So what? It is safe to presume, even if they didn't say it, that she's just dead, because Gwen always dies. So we're always going to assume that she's
Also
going to
true.
die.
That's cheating.
It's true, but it is.
Well,
what it
obviously,
is.
this book is, in that sense, kind of cheats with everything because it has to pull off of so much of your
know.
pre-existing Spider-Man knowledge.
Listen, it was a joke, all right?
Okay.
Just laugh.
I don't think it gets name dropped. I might be wrong, but it
I think
feels
you're
at
wrong,
least
because I reread it like 3 times.
at least for me, it felt implied because Peter says to Ben, "You've lived a quiet life while I lived the loud one, but I'm tired now. I can't do it anymore." So it just
Right.
feels as though Ben basically had to live a quiet, fake life on the DL, and Gwen
with
probably
a clone
just
wife.
right. But they're both clones, so it doesn't really matter because
Yeah,
they're
the
still
clone
people.
wife doesn't care. Her husband just leaves. I'm harping.
So
Next.
so let's see. The second chapter we see that.
We don't need a summary, Colin. We read the book.
But
fine.
the
I'm talking to
listeners
the
didn't.
listeners, dummy.
But this isn't a summary show. It's a spoiler show. We're just talking about the
Whatever.
cool shit we like and the stuff we didn't like.
Okay, fine.
Give
I
a
thought it'd be nice because the
one-sentence
chapters
summary.
are already.
We'll meet in the middle. 1 sentence
Okay.
summary. All right, so book 3, the 80s.
80s. This is
Yay.
where we talk. Where they talk about the Secret Wars.
Secret Wars.
Yay.
Yep.
The original Secret Wars, not the 2015 different Secret Wars.
Okay, 1 sentence summary. So we have the Infinity. Ooh, we we have the Secret Wars, where that in the comics with the original Secret Wars introduced the symbiote, and this is
I think you mean symbiote.
No, it's definitely symbiote.
where
We don't talk about that movie.
where the symbiote is one of the main key things of this chapter.
So,
Black Suit is epic.
Yes, Black Suit is really good. We all love
I
Black Suit.
like the fact that
that's
If
probably why Spider-Man 3 is my favorite of the 3.
wow, that's a controversial opinion.
Yikes.
I think that was the thing that I really there were two things in this decade that I really enjoyed was the sense of the symbiote suit was kind of the thing that tore their marriage apart in that sense
Yep.
of because she understood that he just can't stop being Spider-Man.
Yep.
I like the fact that she still, because she still loved him, was still saved him from the suit and himself and didn't just ditch him immediately. But like next day, it's like, I gotta take the kids and go. It seemed like, I wouldn't say peaceable by any means, but like it wasn't, it probably wasn't hostile. It was just like this was gonna happen. It's just gotta go.
I understand type
Yeah,
of thing. He's
and-
sitting there, is like, I understand.
Right,
But but it kills me inside.
Right. And then the other thing, which Colin's looking at right now, is the fact that Vision was in the
yes.
middle of the character of Vision, the android, was in the middle of a giant explosion that just killed a bajillion people.
And he's traumatized.
And he's so traumatized by it that he's staying intangible. Like nobody can interact with him. He doesn't. You can see him, but you can't touch him. He's just so
Your hand goes right
traumatized by
through
all
him.
the death that he just saw, and that was really cool. And that's what really made me realize how melancholy of a book this is.
Mm-hmm.
Which really, Spider-Man books kind of are in that sense. They're a little depressing for the most part. They are optimistic, but they always have a bit of a depression to them.
I mean, the point of the book is to realize that you're getting older. It's kind of a memento mori theme.
Right.
Remember your death.
Right.
That you will die.
Oh, that death. We got to get there because that was some good stuff. So
Yes, sir.
I found it really funny that freaking Tony Stark is still like up and kicking just to spite Peter. Like he's like probably a decade and a half, 2 decades older. He's still hanging around, just like, nah, dude. We got to talk about this registration thing. But
I forgot to mention.
the way that they incorporated Venom into this was really cool.
Yes.
Because when Peter comes out of the grave after being buried alive by Kraven, and the symbiote comes to him and he's able to get out of the grave, he looks a lot closer to Venom than he does to Spider-Man. There
Yep.
is no Eddie Brock Venom in this book, which I thought was
basically
really cool.
is Venom at one
Right.
point.
When he loses himself, that's how far he goes. And then later in the book, when Kraven becomes the host for the symbiote, because obviously that man could not have survived another like 20, 30 years.
No, I mean,
His body is just being used by the parasite.
I didn't even think about that because I thought maybe he keeps the body like alive, but I'm like, that's never a thing about symbiote. It's always like he's feeding off of.
Yeah, and the
his
man was
person.
already dying of cancer, and he was
Yeah.
already like in his 50s or 60s.
Yeah.
So he is just being a host body, and that was really cool. It worked with the whole revenge on Spider-Man being part of being like Venom's driving force.
Yep.
But it just negated the entire need for Eddie Brock, and I thought that was like really economical storytelling. That was pretty neat.
I liked that, and then we're on to 1995.
Issue 4.
Issue 4, where Doc Ock is mean again. He's bad boy, sad boy.
He's so freaking old.
Dude, he's so gross looking. And also, where we get Tony Stark is back. Being spiteful and shit, like Spencer said.
Yeah.
And another suit change. I actually like this suit change a lot more than all of them.
I like all of the suits equally, I think. Except maybe the last one, just because it's a little bit more space suity. But I love the
I
suits.
don't like the last one. But I would like to touch on how I thought it was so funny, like seeing Peter Parker as basically Bruce Wayne, and like you see him with the white in his hair on the sides of the of his head.
He's a rich boy in charge of a company.
Yeah, rich boy in charge of a company, and then you realize he dresses up as Spider-Man. Or he is Spider-Man, but like he puts on the Spider-Man suit. It's so weird. Like I was thinking about it like Batman. Bruce Wayne puts on a Batman suit, but like that, I feel like I accept that way more than Peter Parker, a businessman, putting on a Spider-Man suit.
I think that was something that worked really well in favor of how they did this, because the whole Parker Industries storyline in main continuity was controversial, and a lot of people argue didn't work well with the character of Peter Parker, which I kind of agree with. And I like the fact that they used it in this way to go, he's not happy doing this. It's not healthy for him to just turn into an old businessman to just like keep working on the company and not have a life. That's not how Peter Parker should be operating. And I just really, really dug that. So to kind of wrap up towards the later end of his life, we already hit on him, like Peter transitioning into a quiet life with his own family. I really liked that moment where he like just came on the property where his wife lived. I believe it was some middle of nowhere freaking state. I don't remember where it was.
It was just a random place, but yeah, I liked that. I thought it was kind of weird.
I liked how she's just standing in the doorway. Like, that's what MJ always does. Like, she's always there.
Yeah, she's always in the doorway.
She's just chilling in the door. She's just waiting. She's always been the type of romance. She just waits for Peter. Like, that's just part of her character. And I thought that was really well done. I like the fact that his kids have superpowers. That was neat. They incorporated the Spider-Verse event really well with the stupid spider totems and stuff, which was horrible in main continuity, but here it's so brief.
Yeah, because Peter's just like, I'm some sort of like spider totem thing or whatever. I was
and
told
then
about this
Morlun-
later, but let's go get him.
Right, and then Moreland comes by, and then his kids just beat the ever-living shit out of him. And that was great.
I don't know anything about the totems.
Yeah.
It's so dumb.
The original Spider-Verse comic event was really rough.
Yeah.
And then we get to Civil War at the end of this decade, and man, everybody's so bloody old.
I know, that was so depressing.
I really, really like that suit, though. That suit from that decade, the black with the little bit of red. Oh.
And it's got like the collar.
Yeah, I like how bulky
like
he
that.
is. Like, you can tell he's not like Captain America in terms of like bulk and like lean, but like he's just getting older and like a bit wider.
I like the bulky Spider-Man.
So in the original Civil War, it was a big turning point when Spider-Man revealed his secret identity.
Yeah.
And that's not how it goes down in this book. It's kind of why people are fighting in this book is because everybody knows his identity.
Yeah, that was pretty neat.
Yeah, it was interesting how they changed it to fit this story. And it's not better or worse. It's just
different.
Yeah, different.
And I think the weakest part of this book, I have to say, is probably the last issue.
Yep. And
not because it's bad, but because there's so much shoved in it.
It feels forced.
They go over the follow-up to the symbiote. They follow up on Kraven the Hunter. They have the Superior Spider-Man hinted at. They have Miles Morales. And it feels like so much. And I like all of the ideas. It just feels like it could have been spread out a little bit more, or one of them could have been trimmed off.
I was also confused because Doctor Doom has apparently taken over the world. And
Yep. That is an allusion to the 2015 Secret World event, where when they reform the Ultimate Universe and the main 616 universe into one battle world where Doom's in charge. It was an allusion to that. I'm pretty confident.
I do like the Doom world thing.
Yeah, the suit for this decade is kind of lame because it's basically just a spacesuit, but it's understandable. He's old.
It's his old man jammies.
Yeah.
Old man jammies.
Also, like, he's trying to stop some death ray in space, and that's all we know about it.
Yeah, that was a bit.
I gotta stop the death ray in space, and it's like, you what?
Yeah. Yeah, I did like the ending in terms of it becoming like a mental battle with like his own personification of all of his old foes, just battling really against Doc Ock. I loved that, and the fact that Miles Morales, I think, is like the perfect ending to this book. What they did, it just feels like it really could have been set up in the decade prior a little bit more, because it feels like, oh yeah, Miles Morales is also one of his students / interns, whatever you want to call him. And he's now like instantly possessed by Doc Ock. Like, we don't get a feel for Miles Morales aside from that. We just cultural knowledge wise understand who he is to some extent. But I did like the fact that was the end. It's like, no, like, Otto, let the boy go. You've already lived your life. You're well past your lifespan. Let the boy have his own life. And the fact that Mary Jane gives Miles Morales the old SpiderMan suit, and then he just puts it on, and like that is the finale to the book of basically just the Legend being reborn again as Spider-Man, was freaking phenomenal. Do you guys have any more thoughts on this book?
Nope, it was a good
it was a very good read. Good enough where I had to buy it.
A good half-hour read.
You just said half an hour?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, holy
maybe
cow!
45 minutes.
How'd you skim it so fast? This one took me a good hour
half
and a half.
an hour?
All right, 45 minutes. I'll call.
This was a good at least hour and a half for me. I'm usually a bit of a speed reader when it comes to comics, but this one has so much in it. So that was Spider-Man Life Story. So we're going right into what we've been reading.
So Spencer, what have you been reading?
So I'm gonna I read the entire Daredevil Shadowland omnibus.
That's a thick boy.
That's a big one. So,
more than 1,000 pages, I believe.
So it includes the main Shadowland event as well as all the spin-off / tie-in issues. Overall, I like most of the art in the main run. I enjoy the biggest part of the thing that I enjoy is the fact that it is a big Marvel event that's actually semi-grounded in terms of it's a lot of the street level heroes. Yep. There's some magic and other stuff, but it's a lot more. It's Daredevil and Elektra and Luke Cage and Spider-Man versus much bigger heroes, and I really enjoyed that. Some of the tie-in issues were a bit monotonous, and by a bit I mean a lot of them were very monotonous, like a lot of tie-in issues are.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed the main arc. It isn't anything overly complicated for the most part. No massively complicated themes. It's just the way it is. It's a nice, straightforward story, and I enjoy it quite a lot.
1,112 pages.
How long did it take you to read it?
3 sittings. So
the book weighs 6.3 pounds.
Each sitting was probably a good 2 hours apiece.
Oh my goodness.
Big book. Can't get into that in overly too many details because it's just too much.
It's big.
I enjoyed a lot.
Thick.
Very thick.
With 4 C's.
Colin, what have you been reading?
So, I just finished Moon Knight Volume 2. I finally finished it. It's pretty good. I was trying to start where I left off, and it was kind of hard to remember what it was, so I read the whole thing again. It was this morning.
It's a trade of 5 issues. That's like a poop.
Yes, but you also have to remember.
I'm an artist.
Shut the fuck up.
I like how we measure our time increments in poops.
Yes.
So yeah, that was like half of a poop.
Wait a minute. That means that you read Shadowland in 3 poops?
My poops are not that long.
2-hour-long poops?
No. That's more like 16 poops.
Come on.
Yeah, that's 16 poops.
Those are rookie numbers, dude.
Bro, I poop like maybe twice a day. It's like 20 minutes. I don't bring books in there because I don't like bringing books in the bathroom anymore.
Yeah,
That's
no,
fair.
I can't.
Also, it's my copy of
Also
Shadowlands.
true.
You're welcome.
That
I
is rude.
appreciate
Don't
that.
eat or read while you're pooping if you're using somebody else's book. Just general etiquette. Don't dog ear it. Don't put bookmarks in it. Just leave it alone. Leave it nice and tidy.
Yep.
Yeah, don't eat while you poop, please.
Also, yes, don't eat while you poop.
So back to Moon Knight.
Okay, so this book talks about more of like kind of political stuff because the last book, what it was just like Moon Knight starting out and everything, and this like bad guy that was like boom instantly defeated, which was cool. But the second one is about to do with his doctor taking on the role of Khonshu's son, or I forget what it's called, but just the person that takes Khonshu's powers and abilities, and
Son of Khonshu.
yeah, son of Khonshu. And he kind of loses his way and kind of like is shoved off into insanity. But one thing I'd like to take away from this is that it's like a really good. I like the art. It reminds me of like thick charcoal, like like thick charcoal drawings.
I do like that type of art.
And then everything else is colored in like ink. That's what it reminded me of. But
Nice.
I love how it tells stories without words. Where it's like I'm gonna say 4x6 squares, so there's like rows of 6 and there's 4 of them, blah blah blah. And how it does it is it's like it's not just like you follow square by square by square. Sometimes it's like square and then it's 3 squares that's like an L going downwards to show a picture.
I do like that sort of
yeah,
layout.
I haven't really read a comic that's done that too often.
Really?
But this is a theme, so like it made it its shtick,
I like shticks.
Yeah, I like shticks, and I liked it. It's a good read. I'm probably going to try to find number 3, but it's probably going to cost like $100.
Yep.
Let's see how that goes.
Is more than a dime.
Yeah.
Jacob, what have you been reading?
I read the Ghost in the Shell Omnibus 1 and 2. I say omnibus, they're like mini collections. You saw the first one. It's about, I don't know, an inch thick. The 1.5 was half of that, I guess. I actually made a joke about 1.5. I was like, I wasn't gonna read 2 books in the same week.
Oh yeah.
Until I saw the 1.5 one. I was like, oh, I could have that done before 8 o'clock.
Might as well get that one out of the way.
I'm here to say I did not have it done by 8 o'clock.
Oh,
I had it done by 9 o'clock.
oh, that's not bad. That's not bad.
Interesting read. My first selection of manga ever, so that was interesting, trying to learn how to read manga and also understand the manga style of comics.
Yeah.
It's a little different. Like the last frame of every issue had like a cartoon drawing and the characters have gone full retard, and it's like you're trying to be hokey, I guess, and it just didn't do anything for me.
I think it might be a culture thing.
Yeah, so I mean that's cool. Do your own thing, but
In case you
But from
haven't been
looking
able to
at it-
tell from our voices, we are 3 white dudes.
Yeah.
it's amazing the detail the author has on super small details.
Yeah, I
He
think when
writes
you were reading through the first one, you were like, "Look
Yeah.
at these paragraphs of
freaking
asterisks."
huge paragraphs on the smallest things.
Hey,
and
you
it's
see
like,
its toenail? Yeah, that's got a
Here's
full
the-
paragraph.
Here's the backstory of this toenail's grandfather's cousin's roommate's sister's stepdog.
not that bad, but it's like the best one I read was like a chase scene, the cops chasing the bad guy through hallways and stuff, and he's like, I made it a huge point to not make it like the movies where the hero just runs into the room. I made my hero perch behind a corner and peek and make sure that the coast was clear. So just things like that.
Nice.
So just to be like, hey, I'm not stupid like them. This is why I
Right.
did this.
This is a dumb normal thing you see on TV, and it drives me crazy. So I made
that
sure
sounds like me if I was gonna put footnotes and things.
Honestly, I wouldn't mind if you put footnotes in like our comics.
But most of them were very spiritual and
Enlightenment.
political, I guess.
Oh, okay.
He's like, here's what's going on in Japan right now, and I think it's really bad. Here's what's going on in the rest of the world, and they're doing it right. We need to change our ways.
So is like everything he's doing, like with the art and like the story, it's obviously to do with the political problems that are happening at the time that he's writing it.
It's
that what I can
like
assume?
I said, it's just a small detail. It doesn't really have a huge bearing on the story. It's just an offhanded comment, and then he goes off on it in the
quirky.
notes.
So he's just kind of like reading it with you. That's what kind of
it's
sounds
kind of like a commentary.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
kind of.
assorted details that are semi-relevant.
He's talking about what inspired this offhand comment when he wrote the comic.
Huh, that's cool.
So like a character said something. He's like, yeah, this is why I had this character say this.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
Okay, I enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was really cool.
I think that's good for. I'm sorry, you go.
I don't understand most of what he's talking about because I don't keep up on my Japanese politics. But yeah, the spiritual notes too are really, really interesting. He has a wide understanding of several religions, and even whether I agree or disagree, it was well worded. He's like, this is what I think, and that's what it is. Like,
I like
he wasn't
that.
trying to convert you into anything. He's like, this is my inspiration, and that's it.
It's kind of like just his way of. So, like, you know how people will get lost in a comic or sometime, or like you will get lost in a comic, like not just you personally, but like I've gotten lost in a comic before and like not knowing what's going on. And I'm like, did I miss something? So it's kind of nice to know that it's like, oh yeah, I wrote this because of this, and this goes to that, and like that sounds like it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
So, I have the second collection to read through, and then it will be available for you guys to borrow.
Yes,
Neat.
sir. Thank you.
So I also read Superman, Lois and Clark, which is an 8-issue miniseries published in 2016. It was written by Dan Jurgens, who is a Superman veteran, and illustrated by Lee Weeks. So this was just before Rebirth. This was a Rebirth tie-in, or quote-unquote Road to Rebirth. So this basically takes place during the New 52, kind of. Long story short, the Superman, Lois Lane, and thusly their child John, during like just pre-Flashpoint, so like the post-crisis pre-Flashpoint era, like late 90s, early 2000s, they were plucked out of time for various reasons, and then they were shoved into the New 52 for more convoluted reasons. This ties into the Convergence event, which was honestly pretty bad, but it's one of the positive things that came out of it. So they were plucked. So this quote unquote our Superman, not the New 52 broody, moody one that people don't like the Superman that everybody remembers.
Yep.
Got plucked out of time.
Oh, I remember reading that.
Basically living in secret, doing Superman but stealth mode.
He was doing Superman?
He is doing himself in the
No,
butt.
Lois Lane is doing Superman.
In the butt?
I don't want to know. So he's, doing the Superman shtick, but he's saving people from disasters and handling some villains and stuff, but all doing it in stealth, in secret, because there is another Superman in this world, and during this point, Superman has already been revealed to the public by Lois Lane of the New 52 multiverse, like that world. So they're living in secret with their kid, who doesn't know that his dad is Superman, and it's saying Superman in small scale is kind of funny because there are also world-ending stakes in this as well. But it's actually like a small Superman story about Lois and Clark and their son John and how they've been raising him in the dark, and him up until I believe the book ends when he's like roughly 10, and he like finds out, and then they find out he has powers, and that was just really cool. The art is really nice. I wouldn't say phenomenal, but Lee Weeks is a really good penciler. It's clean and simple for the most part. It's nice and tidy. It reads well with the words, and Dan Jurgens is freaking killer when it comes to writing Superman stories. And it's just a unique story, and also brings back the black suit, but without the mullet and the really wide neckline, so it actually looks really freaking sweet. So, like, Lois just makes / works with somebody to make this suit, so Superman can still kind of look like Superman, but do it stealthily, because black equals stealth.
Of course.
So he can just back up all the heroes of this new world that they've been shoved in, but do it secretly so they don't actually know what's happening. And it's just a really unique concept for a Superman book, as far as I'm aware, with the stuff I've read, and I really, really, really enjoyed it.
Cool. So I meant to explain the 1.5 collection was after Ghost in the Shell was released. There was like a yearly release of one comic book that was intermingled in the original storyline. So that's what the 1.5 was. It was just the collection of short stories.
Okay, that makes sense.
Gets mixed in with the original story.
Oh,
And then 2.0 is going to be a legit continuation of the
gotcha.
main story. So,
Colin, what else have you been reading?
Honestly, I think that's it.
the back of the shampoo bottle when he poops.
That is what we all end up reading when we forget our phones.
I am reading Daredevil. I can't remember which one it is. I'll tell you guys next
Daredevil,
week.
something or other. Stay tuned.
Nice.
Yep, stay tuned.
Nice.
So, Jacob, what else have you been reading?
So, inspired by season 2 of The Umbrella Academy, I got my grubby hands on the audiobook version of 11/22/63 by Stephen King,
Ooh.
which is also about the JFK assassination.
Huh.
Are we going to go save JFK?
We're gonna go save JFK. I can't even do it, dude.
I haven't seen season 2.
You need to finish season 2.
You need to start season 2 again.
Also true.
Guys, I have so many things to watch.
Yeah,
so
This
many
is
things to
your
read.
job.
So do we, dude. Do you think we have any more time than you do? No.
Yeah.
Not really.
Yeah.
So 11/22/63 by Stephen King is about the assassination of John Fitzgerald Kennedy and trying to prevent it via time travel. Oh yeah. So
Time travel!
So
Sorry.
11/22/63 time travel, save JFK. Good story, typical Stephen King story, though it runs really long.
But
And
Stephen
so full of
King not
details.
doing a horror book.
I mean, there were still some typical Stephen King horror topics
Really?
mixed in there.
Like what? Rabid dog. Killer car.
No.
Killer clown from outer space. Giant turtle.
You haven't hit one yet. I was thinking more the abusive family dynamics.
That one.
Child porn.
What Stephen King books have you been reading?
He's right though.
Yeah, okay.
Did the ending feel like his wife wrote it while she was on cocaine, like most of his
Okay,
books?
so that's not fair because my phone upgraded to Android 11, and for some reason, every single freaking time I tried to play audio through it, it would start stuttering, like it was buffering after 3 whole minutes of listening.
Wow.
So what I had to do is put it on like triple speed to finish the effing book and keep my phone screen on the whole time.
Ugh.
Okay, so at triple speed, the ending was a little rough.
You are a trooper.
Whoa.
So I should
A round of
probably
applause.
read the last chapter again at some point
Yeah.
in my life.
Fair enough.
But it is a good story. I enjoyed it.
That's on my list of things I actually want to read from Stephen King
he
that don't
actually-
include his horror books, because me no like horror.
Actually treated time travel pretty well. His own rendition of it is pretty good. So,
That's cool.
what have you been reading, Spencer?
I have more. I read Batman Curse of the White Knight.
You cannot talk
You
about
can
that
literally
very much
not talk about
because
that.
I'm going to give a one-sentence opinion that does not include any spoilers, okay?
And I have a question at the end.
Okay. It's an 8-issue miniseries. Technically, the book I read is a 9-issue because it's an 8-issue series, and then there's a spin-off book in the end, which is a Mr. Freeze book. Published in 2019, written and illustrated by Sean Murphy. Gorgeous art and designs. The writing is a little bit weaker than the previous book.
Oof.
And I love how they twist the previously established Batman canon in very strange and sometimes actually expected ways. That is my summary. That is as far as I'm going to get into it, because in a couple of months, once we finally get to it, that is one of our primary topics of discussion. And Colin is about to murder me for saying literally anything about this book.
Yeah, because I just started it, like, right before we were recording.
Yep.
Tonight.
Ouch.
So, am I going to like this one?
I think you will like this a lot more because it has a lot less of the stuff that you didn't like from the first book. It is something very factual, no spoilers. So, Sean Murphy has said that he has 3 to 5 like major books planned for this quote-unquote Murphyverse, as DC's calling it now.
Okay.
There's The White Knight, which is a political thriller. There is Curse the White Knight, which is a historical thriller.
Okay.
And then the third one is, I believe, going to be called
Sci-fi
Beyond
thriller.
it's called Beyond the White Knight. It's like a Blade Runner-esque. When Batman later in the timeline, I can't go into anything about that. And then I don't know where the other 2 books are going. He hasn't mentioned anything about them, but I think
travel.
Have I ever told you guys I love cyberpunk so
yes,
much?
we know. I agree. I think you'll like this one more because of the type of stories you enjoy. This is this is more fantastical and.
And to be fair, I didn't know that White Knight was supposed to be a political thriller.
Yeah.
So, that was my big complaint about it.
Was not having a heads up beforehand on like what to expect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also,
fair enough.
Keep your freaking politics out of my freaking comic books. But that's my soapbox. Colin, anything else?
Am I going to be disappointed by this comic?
I think you're going to have a similar opinion to me, which is because we kind of have the same brain when it comes to most things Batman related.
This is true.
I can't go into too much about it. I think you're going to be with Jacob in the sense of enjoying the setting difference and the tonal difference. I think some of the decisions you might disagree with, some of the twists of how canon is operated, but I think you're going to find a lot of it to be very interesting, if nothing else. Jacob, have you been reading anything else?
Negative. But my first entry counted as 2 books, so I'm up to 3.
Fine. Okay. I still have another one, and I'm still winning. I win, but...
also, you had 2 weeks to win.
Also true. But also, Shadowland beats all of your books combined.
Yeah, that is true.
So the last thing I read, which I just threw in last night, was Captain America Living Legend. It's a 4-issue miniseries published in 2014, written by Andy Diggle and illustrated by Adi Granov and Augustin Alesso, I believe is how you pronounce it.
Sure.
It's very short. I read it in actually about 30 minutes. Tiny little trade. Picked it up for like $5. It was great. The art is absolutely stunning. It's I don't want to say painted or painterly because it's not quite that, but it's in a hyper realistic style. The color palette is very muddy and
kind of like Batman Damned.
Kind of, but not. I wouldn't say that textured, but more like similar, but a little cleaner. It's not that like it's not Liebermejo like gross gritty. It's like actually just it's there and it's nearing photorealism, somewhere in that range.
All right.
I think you're gonna love the art. The things that you usually get set off by, I didn't notice any of, but I also don't notice as many things. So it has it's very rich in texture, has a thick color palette. The story is very short and concise. There are themes, but it's not a theme heavy book. It's just kind of to the point. But the thing that stood out the most to me was the fact that it's a sci-fi horror book.
Ooh, I'm in.
But for Captain America. Would you have ever thought of that? Like that, it's so the enemies are.
Maybe if I was on a deserted island,
right,
all by myself with a lot of rum.
Yeah, it's the enemy is
I relate.
like a techno-organic sort of deal.
Techno-orgasmic?
No, techno organic.
Oh,
So
Lame.
it's great. Think Jacob, the other epic gamer in the room. You know
also
the
techno-orgasmic.
you know the husks. I don't remember the actual species name from Mass Effect from the first one. Like the
Nope, never played it.
dang it. Anyway, it's very interesting. It's kind of gross, but it's not like horror book. It's terrifying. Like it's a bit gross and serious. And I quite enjoyed it, especially for a Captain America book, because some of those books are really, really bad.
I'm in.
Strong recommend. All right, moving on to our last segment of the day. What have we been watching? Colin, what have you been watching this week?
Okay, so 1, I haven't finished, so I'll talk about it at the end. 2, I finished watching The Lobster.
Oh.
An A24 film.
Ooh.
Okay, so...
Jacob is immediately checked out of the building.
I don't know it.
It's weird. It's so weird.
Short summary, Colin.
Is it
Okay,
like enemy
so-
weird though?
Like what?
Enemy?
I haven't finished.
It's less
I
than
didn't
that.
get to even finish Enemy.
Is it alright? Is it Lighthouse weird?
Okay, so in
A little bit
yeah,
lighter,
kinda.
but not quite so far.
Listen
Yeah,
to
I'm
this.
checked out.
Okay, so in a near future world, single people are hunted and forced to find mates within 45 days, or be turned into animals and banished to the wilderness. And the thing was, I misread it, and I thought it said like treated like animals. I'm like, okay. And then I'm watching the movie with, and we start the movie, and the first thing you see is an animal, like someone is driving, and they go off to the side of the road, and they just shoot a random animal, and then that's the end of the scene. And Abby says, "Oh, who's that she shot?" I'm like, "It's just an animal." And she's like, "Yeah, but don't they get turned into animals?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" What do you mean?
So Colin is just a ding-dong.
And so I misread it, and I realized, oh man, that's something. And so the whole movie is about that, and it's like they go to this hotel and everything. It's like, try to find mates. But the whole thing is like to do with the talk about to find relationship and the perfect relationship, and it's like there's this perpetuated idea that you need to be alike to have a good relationship, when reality a good relationship is opposites attracting. Not because if a girl has a bloody nose and she's pretty, you're going to smash your head on the table and make yourself have a bloody nose just so you can have a relationship with her and
It's
lie
a
to her
very
forever.
violent film. It's very odd.
And you're not going to find just because this woman has no feelings doesn't mean you should go and not have feelings and let her kick your dog to death.
So how did you and Spencer get together if you're so alike?
Oh, good point. I don't know.
I have a small pee-pee.
I have big pee-pee.
My stream's not as strong as his.
Fire engine hose. Jacob,
Anything
what
else
have
on the Lobster?
Oh, really good. Unsatisfied by the end until Spencer did a little bit of research for me, and
Typical.
I understood what it was. And the only way that I was able to tell you what like the main theme was when he said he was trying to be like the last woman he was with, and I was like, oh, everything makes sense now.
Gotcha.
He had a big brain moment.
It's once you understand what happened at the end, it's like everything's like you understand it.
Nice.
You would
Definitely
not like it.
Enjoy it.
I want you
No.
to watch it.
This is not for me.
I want you to. I
Jacob
want you
really
to watch
doesn't
it.
like. We need to
I
stop
wanted
recommending those types
to
of movies
punch
to him.
Spencer in the face after I watched Lighthouse because that was the second one in a row.
Yeah.
I was violently angry.
Really? Were you
Not a fat in me lobster.
Were you really not like?
I watched The Enemy and then The Lighthouse and died. I was so angry.
Really? Okay, so like Enemies on Hulu, but you can only get like watch it if it's like Hulu Prime or like Hulu Plus, not Prime.
Hulu is such trash.
And
honestly.
I'm like, dude, I hope it dies.
Yep.
Not
Also-
until I finish Cowboy Bebop and Naruto.
nice.
And Hellstrom.
Also true.
Yeah.
Jacob, what have you been watching?
I finished the 5 episodes I had left of a 7-episode show, Dragon's Dogma,
Ooh.
which is
Did the CGI continue to be really good and then really bad?
they stopped having poorly CG'd monsters until the very end when they finally find the dragon again, and I think the dragon was animated better in the finale than in the original in the first episode. So
Nice.
the animation was back to normal.
That's good.
Yumminess.
Instead
Yummy.
of nasty stop motion.
Yeah.
So did
That
you
was
enjoy
painful.
that? Now that you've seen the entire series, did you enjoy it?
I am a little nervous about how to talk about this because I don't want to spoil it for you guys.
So you want us to watch it?
Yes,
Interesting. What service is this on?
Netflix.
Neato Burrito.
It is made by the poor and suffering Netflix anime team that I don't think has shat out anything good yet.
Yep.
Except maybe this. This is a solid 3 out of 5 stars.
3 out of 5.
Maybe a 3.5.
They just released, I think. No, it's not.
So that's a strong mediocre to good.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting.
All right, I'll go for it. So, episodes 2 through 6 felt like the same thing, different themes, but it was like generic fantasy setting, same cyclical story. But the finale, when they meet the dragon, was like, I don't know how to explain it. Like somebody took all the strings in one hand and just pulled, and it like pulled the whole story together into one
That's a way to phrase
actually quality story. It was like, this makes sense. I understand the titles now. I understand the cyclical
The
cyclical episodes in the middle. Like it wasn't just to waste time, and
Oh.
it was
Everything
quality.
had a purpose.
It was a great ending.
Nice.
Would you recommend it to me?
I already
He
did,
just
dude.
did, dude.
I'm sorry.
Also,
I farted.
the dragon's soapbox at the end was like spot on.
Wait, what?
The dragon is monologuing at the end, and it was like
Oh.
I agreed with him quite a bit. So
You're a dummy.
Interesting.
very good. Also, second course of anime titties this week. So
Oh, more anime titties.
yep, after Ghost in the Shell.
It's a lot of anime titties this
It was
week.
a
I
lot of
understand what
anime
you were talking about in the opening.
In Ghost in the Shell?
And Dragon's Dogma.
And
It's a
Dragon's
lot,
Dogma.
lot
of
of
anime
anime
titties
titties.
this week.
Oh, you started what? I'm sorry, I'm so lost.
Jacob's opening joke was about having so many anime titties this week.
So between
Yes.
Ghost in the Shell and Dragon's Dogma,
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of anime titties.
Ghost in the Shell has a lot of titties.
Spencer, what were you watching?
I watched Batman Assault on Arkham,
Ooh.
which is the DC animated film tie-in to the Arkham universe. It takes place after Arkham Origins, but before Arkham Asylum.
I just want to ask you right now, is it better than Deathstroke Nights in Exposition?
It's got Terminal Horny.
I haven't watched Deathstroke Knights and Dragons yet, as I was not here last episode.
Now, I can actually tell you. I can give you that answer.
Oh, really?
It is far better.
Is
I'd
that
rather be
because-
tormented by Assault on Arkham than Deathstroke.
Can I talk about Assault on Arkham, though?
Is that because it has the terminal horny?
It absolutely. That's exactly why Colin gives it any sort of credence at all.
That's what I figured.
2 thumbs up.
Anime titties.
So that actually was my first thought when I watched it.
Anime titties?
No,
Oh.
Yes.
the movie has terminal horny. Like, it's equal to the rest of the Arkham series, which kicked off the trend of Harley Quinn being
Slutty.
That's where that
It really
started.
did, didn't it?
It did.
I don't know. I haven't seen this one.
No, I mean, like, Arkham Asylum, the game.
Yeah, Arkham Asylum started it, so
Oh,
thusly
okay.
this series continued it. I would recommend this to you, especially as an epic gamer.
And terminal horny.
Aside from that part, so it definitely pushes its PG-13. Not in terms of like language for the most part, but it definitely in terms of like amount of skin shown /
Killer Frost.
general amount of sexual stuff in it. But it feels very well in line with the rest of the Arkham universe. I thought for the most part, the timeline is very well thought out. It fits in well. The characters line up with where they are after Origins, but before Asylum. There's a lot to play with. They redesign a few characters in some ways. Some of them are exactly how they were in the game previous / game after. But something why this is kind of relevant again is because of the new Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League game. It looks like this is theoretically getting retconned out of continuity because King Shark is in the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, which is apparently canon to the Arkhamverse. King Shark has an entirely different design, and he also died in this movie. He got his freaking head blown off.
He did.
He died, as well as the more superficial things in terms of Floyd Lawton / Deadshot being white in the Arkhamverse, including this movie, and then now with the Suicide Squad game, he is African American, and assorted things like that. But I really enjoyed how they handled the Batman, Joker, Harley Quinn dynamic, because Batman is in this, but it's not a terribly Batman-centric movie. It is very well Justice League / Harley Quinn movie. Harley Quinn was very well developed. She was very promiscuous / attention-seeking, however you want to phrase it. But she was also a very intelligent character, even though she's a bit of a dunce at times. Obviously, it was very well in line with her character. She didn't feel overly dumbed down or overly horny just to make her horny. Right. It fit in well.
She's vexing.
Vexing, that's a good way to put it.
Also a reference to the Suicide
also true.
movie.
The relationship between her and the Joker I thought was really well done, because it's in a very different place than it was in either of the two games before and after this. I thought the animation itself was phenomenal, especially for a lot of these DC movies have very low budget in terms of frame rate. It's very choppy. This one was very smooth. The designs had that.
I can agree with you on that.
The designs were, for the most part, pretty well ripped out of the games, and if it was something they were changed or a character that wasn't in the games, it felt well in line, and it blended well with the animation style.
Nice.
Yeah, and the plot was dead simple, and I really liked it. There was one twist in it, no, two twists in it, and that was about it. It wasn't overly complex. It was just fun, a lot of good characters, good dynamic, and never felt like anybody was shortchanged.
Cool.
And Harley Quinn's very attractive in this movie, excessively so, near excessively so. It's a lot. Yeah.
So I'm not the only one that's terminally horny.
No,
here in the room.
I've never denied it.
Ooh, Colin's a killer frost man.
He
likes them cold.
This is true.
Yeah, you do like cold dead ones. Oh, that's getting cut.
Colin, what else have you been watching? Anything?
Okay, so I started watching Good Time, which has Robert Pattinson in it.
That is a very good movie.
And it's to do with these two brothers that are in a robbery. They rob a bank, and as they're running away from the cops, the younger brother, who is mentally challenged, gets caught and is put into prison. But they soon realize that, he's not really at fault because he's just following his brother because he's mentally challenged, so he can't really tell. Or he can't he doesn't fully understand what he's doing. And so that's kind of where I am in the movie right now. So far it's really good. It's one of Robert Pattinson's best performances, I think, from all the movies I've seen him in so far.
I would definitely agree with you.
Which is a low amount. But yes, I am enjoying it at the moment.
Second recommended on IMDb is The Lighthouse. I'm not watching.
It's not. It is an art house movie in the sense of it is very creator driven, but this is not a metaphysical, spiritual. This is very literal. The only thing you can get close to that is the director / writers, the Safdie brothers, said basically this character has a superpower in the sense of he doesn't, but he is so intuitive. He understands what people want. He can see the future, but only 3 seconds in front of him. So he's constantly running around, barely scraping by the by the skin of his teeth, but somehow he's still doing it.
He's manipulative. He knows exactly how to manipulate people.
It's a phenomenal performance. The score is off the walls, phenomenal. I can't spoil anything else because Colin hasn't finished it, but I really recommend it.
He's manipulative, where he asks a bunch of questions and he reads people. What it is he's just reading people, and he's like, "Oh, okay, I can tell what you want." And so he just plays off of it. And
it goes very well with the writers / directors also said they literally made this role for Robert Pattinson. They're just there is no other option. This is just the way it goes. He sought them out a while back and was like, "Hey, I want to work with you." And they're like, "Okay," and then just made a movie pretty much. One of the cool details was that a lot of the extras had no idea they were extras. They were just regular civvies. They're just filming stuff with this dude running around getting chased by people, and they just shot it on location.
Cool.
Which is really neat. Very strong recommend.
Yes. That's the end of that guy.
Jacob.
So, I'm not going to name what I've been playing, but because I'm not done with it yet.
Aww.
I started playing it because I saw an article saying you have to play this. If you can't wait for Cyberpunk, you got to play this. And I was like, all right, sure, I'll play that. Even though the descriptive words for it, I'm like, I'm not really into those kinds of games. It's all right. Like, it is so good, and the internet gods say that it takes 8 hours to beat it, and I'm about 3 hours in, maybe 4. So I should have it done by next week. But I don't have it done because ODST dropped this week and interrupted me.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Oh, yeah.
So, huh?
Let's not have a conversation about that.
ODST?
Yeah.
Why?
It's late.
late. All right. We won't talk about ODST
Please don't.
this week.
Okay.
Next week, though,
Hell
when
yeah.
I've got both games done.
Tell me the genre of this game.
Cyberpunk.
That is
I'm afraid
an
to put-
artistic style, not
I'm
the
afraid to
genre
put
of
labels
game
on
ding
it
dong.
It can
because
still be a genre.
I almost
dummy.
didn't play it because of the labels that were on it, and I started playing it, and it was really, really good.
Interesting. Interesting.
All right.
You are a big tease.
You look like you're going crazy right now.
Yeah, I want to freaking talk about it, but I can't because I need words assembled better. Walking simulator horror game.
I know what you're talking about, and I'm not going to bring it up. Okay. I'm on board with you. I agree with all your opinions on exactly what you're saying, and I know what you're talking about.
Talking about, you have to say it now.
All right, it's all right. We'll talk about it next week. Have you been watching anything else, Spencer?
My last piece of been
You
watching.
suck. You win both.
Yeah, buddy. I watched Tron Legacy, which is...
Again.
I love this movie. Regardless of its some pretty obvious flaws, I love Tron Legacy way too much. This came out in, I believe, 2010 or 2011. This was
Really?
latest of 2013. Definitely no later than that.
I was going to say 2014.
Really?
I think so.
It could. There's no
Let
way.
me fact check.
2010.
You suck.
I really liked the original Tron when I was a kid, even though I had no idea what was going on. But this came out when I was 9/10, so this piqued all my interest. It's got sci-fi, it's got a little bit of fantasy, it's about video games and technology, and it's got big spiritual themes. And also, it's shiny, and the lights are really pretty, and the music is dope as shit. So it caught my attention then, and it's retained it up until now, and it's never gonna go away.
Cool.
Yeah, no, like certainly a couple of the visual effects haven't held up super great, but I think for the most part, them in combination with the like really good designs, and the amount of practical effects work, it looks like a lot of it's digital, but a lot of it was actually practical effects to get all the lighting and stuff in place.
Yep.
It holds up really well. The performances are pretty solid, and I like the fact that Jeff Bridges is just playing the dude, but in a video game, and it's great. So
I've never seen The Big Lebowski.
you need to watch The Big Lebowski.
Lebowski.
Yeah.
Lebowski.
I freaking I love Tron Legacy. I have one more thing that I watched because I went to the theater this week.
The theater.
I'm just gonna read my review and then I'll be done with it. I
What's
watched
the title?
Infidel, which you might have seen an advertisement for in front of other movies.
Maybe.
Long story short, it's about a Christian blogger boy who gets invited to speak at a conference in Cairo, ends up basically preaching to Muslims on air, or that's how it's construed, and then he gets kidnapped.
I was
And
going to say, that's a good idea.
yeah, he got kidnapped and beaten by various parties involved, including the Iranian government. It is not based on direct events, but it is based upon a lot of collective stories of a lot of press and journalists from the past couple of decades in terms of the, let's say, jihad going on right now and has been for a while. So, the structure of the film is easily its largest issue, but its desire to balance political intrigue and a faith-based message is very admirable. Solid performances all around, but the cinematography and editing outside of a few sequences leaves a lot to be desired. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good watch. It's not very long. It's like an hour and 45 minutes. Starring Jim Caviezel.
I was just gonna say, it's Jesus playing the Christian blogger boy.
Big surprise. He's also played, I believe, Paul in one of the other more recent good faith-based movies. I would not say that this is a faith-based movie. It's one of its heavier themes, but I think it's more into the political aspect of the conflict. But I think it balances both fairly well. It approaches it with some nuance. The script is a bit clunky. There's some bad lines, there's some silly stuff, but I thought it was fairly respectful of both sides, even though obviously there is still good guys and bad guys. It is respectful of both Christians and Muslims, as well as atheists, and the political messiness of the situation going on with the wars in the Middle East. So I enjoyed it. Wow. Recommend to both of you, actually, because this is the type of stuff that we kind of all enjoy collectively.
And it's interesting that you're calling it out, because I avoid, as you termed them, faith-based movies as if
they're the plague. I know, because I also...
No, not the plague. The coronavirus.
Nice. Which is funny, because I also do the same thing, but if it has any sort of hint of being at least worthy of, like, having potential, I'm attracted to them on, like, unholy level of I need to watch it to see if it's worthy of, like, watching again, like, to recommend to people, because I really want good faith-based movies.
I get the idea.
I agree with you on a lot of them. I don't like the idea of preaching as a movie, but I like the idea of having faith movies based in spirituality and religion and such. But usually they're just approached in such a horrid manner that they're not worth your time. But on occasion, there's some decent ones, and I think overall they've gotten better. So I would recommend this to both of you. So
I would rather watch bad horror movies.
To be
that's
honest,
just because there are titties in horror movies.
You know what?
Because it's so painful and insulting to the viewer to watch.
You know, I'd rather watch than faith-based movies. I'd rather watch Deathstroke, Knights and Dragons.
Man, you guys really did not like that.
No, dude, it was so bad.
Just because the fact you guys liked it, the universe will deem me to love it just to be different.
Yep. It's going to be a running gag now.
So now that this podcast is over, thank you for listening to episode 10 of the Dime Comic Bros podcast. As stated previously, and every episode, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, as well as send us an email at dimecomicbros@gmail.com. You can listen to this podcast on YouTube as well as Spotify. If you would like to visit our Patreon and be supportive of this endeavor of ours, please feel free to visit us at patreon.com/dimecomicbros.
Also, this is where we would read the credits of all the appropriate Patreon payers if you hit the proper tier.
Also true.
And an example would be, thank you to
My
Peter
mom.
Boy 3283.
XX.
Thank you. Oh, XX. Sorry about the XX.
Gamer Girl.
Gamer Girl.
420.
Big titty goth bitch. 8534. Thank you for your
Thank you for your fake donations.
This is where we would say it.
So tune in next week.
What are we doing
For
next week?
we are gonna be talking about Dread, the 2012 film.
I'm excited. I've never seen it.
Oh,
Me either.
oh, this is gonna be a good.
Spencer's the only one that's seen
I
it.
love this movie so much. Oh boy, this is gonna be a fun one. Welcome back to the Dime Comic Bros podcast, episode 10. We've officially made it to double D's now.
We're gonna pause it now so that Colin can call about his pizza. His pizza.
Yes, it's been an hour.
Listen here, bitch, I want my pizza!
It's ridiculous.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we need to do this every time we
Ugh,
talk
you're gonna
about a
do this
comic.
again.
Yes, we have to do this every
It's
time.
a comic show.
We have to do this every time.
This has been Comic Book ASMR with Colin.
You're welcome. So I think we should talk
Explain
about
that wet
this.
spot in your shorts, Colin.
I will not. Sorry, it's late.
Dude, it's 7:30.
Bro, nuh-uh.
No, it's 8 o'clock.
That's what I thought. Are you waiting on me?
You're the one who wants to give summaries. So we gotta wait
I mean, if you don't want me to, that's fine. I was just
summary, dude.
So on breaks at work are like 30 minutes, but like it took me 2 of those, and then like when I got home when he was here, I think what it was my coworker was just distracting me.
I hate that.
I hate it because it's just like they're bored. So now I'm reading. So he's like, "Oh, what are you reading? What's up, Spider-Man?
What's it about?
Spider-Man."
It's like,
Shut
I
up.
don't know.
Yeah.
I'm trying to freaking read it.
I'm trying to do my side job. Leave me alone.
Yup.
I do love telling people that at work when I'm like reading when it's a slow period. They're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm doing my second job while getting paid for my first job."
Yep.
And my boss is totally okay with it, and it's great.
Nice.
So I get to do it during work hours. I don't even have to be on a break. As long as it's slow enough, I can just stand at the desk and read.
And we're back after having stuffed our faces with Colin's hot and fresh, hour and a half late pizza delivery.
I like the fact that we're gonna mention like every time we stop to pee or have food. That's just become a pattern.
I have nothing else to start it back up with, though.
I want them to know so they know what we're up to, you know? Because they're like listening. They're kind of a part of the conversation, but they're like on the other side of the window.
Fair. Okay.
Oh, there's a finger in the air. Oh my gosh.
Oh, bro, that's like open. Oh, dude. Go wipe. That was wet. Oh.
Definitely gonna have to go poop soon. Check myself, actually.
Thank you. Dude. Oh, that's bad. No. No. Stop touching.
Jacob's tired.
We're just losing our shit. He's just going full dead, which is
Full
solid.
pumpkin.
Sorry.
Another one? Put a cork in it.
Literally.
That was so warm.
Give me the honors of putting the cork in. I will go get my
Put your thumb in.
No, biggest butt plug I can find.
What? Oh, that's
What do you
kinda...
mean you can find? It's in your freaking trunk.
What? Did you put it in there? Did you at least clean it when you were done with it?
No, you like it dirty.
Oh, I want to throw
You
it.
like some poop like that? It's very easy for him to throw up.
Apparently. Anything else?
I can't interlink my toes with your toes because I'm wearing socks.
Interlink. Do you feel passion when you
Interlink.
interlink toes? Interlink.
Blade Runner 2049.
I made that reference with... She's like, I know that from something. What's it from? I'm like, interlink. And
Interlinked.
yeah, so I told her. She's like,
Interlinked.
oh my gosh, I totally remember that.
Have you interlinked toes?
I'm a good Christian boy. I can't talk about that.
Oh boy.
Not before marriage.
Oh boy. All right.
That's how babies are made.
Oh, I know.